The twins were exactly 7 days old when Mason looked at me across the kitchen counter and said, "I don't find you attractive anymore." He stirred his coffee with mechanical precision, like he was conducting a business meeting instead of shattering our marriage. I'm Willow, and that moment marked the death of everything I thought I knew about love. The babies were sleeping upstairs, perfect little mirrors of what Mason and I had created together. Or so I'd thought. Is this some kind of joke? My voice came out steadier than I felt, hands gripping the edge of the counter to keep from shaking. The cesarean scar still pulled when I moved too quickly, a constant reminder of what my body had endured to bring our children into the world. No joke. He didn't even look up from his coffee. I've been thinking about this for a while. The pregnancy changed things. You changed. I want something different now. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed. Tick, tick, tick. Each second another nail in the coffin of our relationship. Something different, I repeated, tasting the words like poison. Or someone. That got his attention. His eyes flicked up to mine, then away. Just long enough for me to see the truth there. Does it matter? He shrugged, reaching for his briefcase. I've already found a place. I'll have my lawyer contact you about arrangements for the twins. Arrangements. The word came out as a whisper. They're 7 days old, Mason. 7 days. Which makes this the perfect time to establish clear boundaries. He straightened his tie, checked his reflection in the window. They won't remember any of this. It's better this way. Better. The word echoed in my head as he walked out the door without looking back. Better for whom? Not for the tiny beings upstairs who would grow up wondering why their father chose to leave before they could even smile. Not for me, standing in our kitchen with surgical staples in my abdomen and milk-heavy breasts, trying to comprehend how quickly happiness could turn to ash. One of the twins started crying upstairs. Then the other joined in, their wails harmonizing in a duet of need. I pressed my palms flat against the counter, pushing back against the weight threatening to crush me. Okay, I said to the empty kitchen. Okay. Each breath felt like swallowing glass, but I forced myself to stand straight. The twins needed me. They needed stability, protection, love. Everything their father had just proven himself incapable of providing. I climbed the stairs slowly, my body protesting each step. But with every movement, something else was building inside me. Something harder than heartbreak. Something colder than grief. Mason wanted different. I'd show him different. He just didn't know it yet. My mother's face crumpled when I told her about Mason. She reached across my kitchen table, her hand covering mine, while the twins dozed in their bassinets nearby. That absolute bastard, she whispered, mindful of the sleeping babies. I'll kill him. Clara, my father warned from his position by the window. He hadn't sat down once since arriving, pacing like a caged animal. We need to think strategically here. I pulled my hand away from my mother's, needing the distance. There's nothing to think about. He's made his choice. The hell there isn't, Henry turned, his lawyer's mind already churning. Have you checked the accounts? The property deeds? Your name is on everything, right? The doorbell rang before I could answer. Mason walked in without waiting, bringing the scent of expensive cologne and someone else's perfume with him. He stopped short at the sight of my parents. Family meeting? His smile didn't reach his eyes. How convenient. I was coming to discuss arrangements. Arrangements. My father's voice could have frozen hell. Is that what you call abandoning your wife and newborn children? Mason's jaw tightened. I'm being practical. Willow can keep the house. I'll pay support. Everyone wins. Wins. My mother stood so quickly her chair toppled backward. You think? Mom. I cut her off, watching Mason's face. Something wasn't right. He was too calm, too prepared. When exactly did you decide all this, Mason? He checked his watch, an obvious dismissal. We can discuss details through our lawyers. I have a meeting. With Olivia? The name dropped like a bomb into the silence. I hadn't meant to say it, hadn't even been certain until I saw his slight flinch. Who's Olivia? My father's question cracked like a whip. Mason's mask slipped for just a moment, showing something ugly underneath. Stay out of my business, Willow. You'll only make things worse for yourself. Is that a threat? Henry stepped forward, but I raised my hand. No, Dad. It's a promise. I met Mason's gaze steadily. He's promising to make my life hell if I don't play nice. Aren't you, honey? One of the twins whimpered, and Mason glanced at the bassinets with something like revulsion. Just have your lawyer contact mine. He turned to leave, then paused. And Willow? Don't bother checking the accounts. I've already taken care of everything. The door closed behind him with a quiet click. My mother started to speak, but my father held up his hand, pulling out his phone. I'm calling Judge Matthews, he said grimly. We need an emergency injunction before that snake can touch another penny. I looked at the bassinets, at my sleeping children who already had a price tag on their future. No, I said quietly. First, we need to find out exactly who Olivia is, and how long this has been going on. My mother's eyes met mine, understanding dawning. You're going to fight? No, I corrected her. I'm going to win. The bank statement trembled in my hands. Where there should have been 6 figures in our joint savings account, a measly $43 remained. Our investment portfolio emptied. The college fund for the twins gone. Even our shared credit cards were maxed out with charges I'd never seen before. Luxury hotels, designer boutiques, a down payment on a Tesla. I scrolled through the transactions on my laptop, each one a fresh wound. The twins were sleeping upstairs with my mother while I sat in Mason's home office, digging through the wreckage of our finances. The leather chair still smelled like his cologne, making my stomach turn. A notification popped up on his desktop. He'd forgotten to log out of his email. Another mistake from a man getting sloppy with success. The subject line read, Closing documents, Ocean View property. My hands moved before my brain could catch up, clicking through attachments and contracts. A beachfront condo purchased 3 months ago. While I was on bed rest, fighting to keep our babies safe, Mason had been shopping for his love nest. The door creaked behind me. Find what you're looking for? I didn't turn around. How long? Mason stepped into the room, his footsteps measured. Does it matter? 3 months of hotel charges. 6 months of jewelry purchases. A year of hidden accounts. I swiveled to face him. You were planning this before I even got pregnant. I was planning my future. He leaned against his desk, casual as if we were discussing dinner plans. You chose yours when you insisted on keeping both babies. I never wanted twins. I never wanted any of this. The words hit like slaps, but I kept my voice steady. And Olivia? What does she want? Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe fear. Leave her out of this. Like you left me out of buying your love nest? I tapped the screen. Does she know about the twins? About your wife? Or is she just as much a fool as I was? You're making a mistake, Willow. His voice dropped, dangerous. Walk away now. Take what I'm offering. Because if you push this, you'll what? I stood facing him. Steal more of our money? Threaten me through lawyers? Tell me, Mason, what exactly do you think you have left to take from me? He smiled then, cold and precise. You'd be surprised. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo appeared. Olivia, young and stunning, her hand resting on a very pregnant belly. Surprise, Mason whispered. Looks like our twins will have a half-sibling soon. Shame about the timing of all this. Courts tend to favor new families over broken ones, don't they? I stared at the photo, something crystallizing inside me. You're right about one thing, I said quietly. This is about family. And you've just declared war on mine. The private investigator's photos spread across my kitchen table like playing cards in a losing hand. Mason and Olivia at restaurants, at the beach, shopping for baby clothes. Their happiness burned my eyes. There's more, Detective Santos said, sliding over a manila envelope. Financial records, property deeds, offshore accounts. Your husband's been busy. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers, pulling out bank statements from the Cayman Islands. The numbers blurred before my eyes. This is more money than we ever had. Because it wasn't yours, Santos said quietly. The firm's been investigating him for months. Embezzlement, fraud, money laundering. They just needed someone on the inside to confirm their suspicions. A knock at the door made me jump. Liam, Mason's colleague, stood there looking uncomfortable in his expensive suit. Sorry I'm late. Show her. Santos nodded to him. Liam pulled out his phone, playing a video of Mason in his office. I've got it handled. Mason's voice crackled through the speaker. Willow's too busy with those damn babies to notice anything. By the time she figures it out, everything will be moved to accounts she can't touch. And with Olivia's baby coming. He laughed. Well, let's just say the timing couldn't be better. The video ended. My throat felt like sandpaper. When was this? 2 days before your C-section. Liam wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, Willow. I should have said something sooner. Why now? Because tomorrow morning the firm's turning everything over to the FBI. Santos interjected. Mason will be arrested for financial crimes. But there's a window of opportunity here, if you want to act first. Act how? Liam finally looked at me. Mason doesn't know we're onto him. He's planning to transfer the last big chunk of money tomorrow morning. If you confront him before the FBI moves in, I could get him to transfer it to me instead. I finished. The idea settled in my chest like ice. It's risky, Santos warned. If he suspects anything. A cry from upstairs interrupted us, one of the twins. I stood, my decision crystallizing. He won't suspect. He thinks I'm too busy with those damn babies to notice anything. Willow, Liam started, but I cut him off. My children's father is about to go to prison. Their trust fund is gone. Their future is in jeopardy. I gathered the photos, my hands steady now. I'm done being the victim in his story. And Olivia? Santos asked. She's innocent in all this. I thought of her pregnant belly, of Mason's cruel laugh. No one's innocent anymore. Tell me what I need to do. The twins were quiet now, sleeping peacefully upstairs. They didn't know their world was about to explode, but I would make sure they survived the blast. The realtor sign appeared in our front yard. While I was at the pediatrician with the twins, just planted there like a knife in my chest. Sold blazed across it in bold red letters. I called Mason 6 times before he answered. You can't sell our house. Already did. His voice was distant, distracted. The closing's tomorrow. You'll get the paperwork from my lawyer. I never signed anything. Check your email from last month. Remember that stack of documents about refinancing? You should really read what you sign, Willow. The memory hit me. Nursing the twins at 3 a.m., Mason hovering with his tablet, insisting I sign electronically right then because the rates were changing. You tricked me. I protected my interests. You have 30 days to vacate. The line went dead. I stood in our driveway, no, not ours anymore, staring at that sign until my vision blurred. My phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Meeting set for tomorrow. 9 a.m. He'll be there. Another text followed. Found something else. Come now. 20 minutes later, I sat in Liam's office while he pulled up documents on his computer. The twins slept in their car seats beside me, unaware that their world was crumbling again. Mason's been planning this for over a year, Liam said, turning the screen toward me. Look at the dates on these account transfers. The property purchases. All while you were trying to get pregnant. I scanned the documents, my hands clenching. He knew about Olivia's pregnancy before I even conceived. There's more. Liam hesitated. The house sale? The money's already been moved offshore. He's planning to leave the country after the closing tomorrow. With Olivia? No. Liam's expression was grim. She doesn't know either. He's going to leave her the same way he left you. Something snapped inside me. Not with rage or grief, but with a cold, crystalline clarity. The FBI meeting tomorrow. What time exactly? 10 a.m. Why? I thought of Mason's smirk when he mentioned the refinancing documents. Of his laugh in that video. Of all the careful planning he'd done to destroy not just one family but 2. Because I need 1 hour with him first. I stood gathering the twins' car seats. And I need you to help me get it. Willow. Liam looked uncertain. What are you planning? I thought of the house I'd made a home, the future I'd planned, the trust I'd given so freely. All gone because I hadn't read the fine print. I'm going to give Mason exactly what he wants, I said. One last signature. One last deal. I met Liam's eyes. And then I'm going to take everything. The twins stirred in their sleep, and I touched each of their cheeks gently. Tomorrow would change everything. I just had to make sure it changed in our favor. 9 a.m. sharp. Mason strode into the conference room like he owned it, briefcase in hand, that familiar smirk playing at his lips. He stopped short when he saw Olivia sitting beside me. "What is this?" His voice cracked slightly. "A negotiation," I said, gesturing to the chair across from us. "Please sit." He remained standing, eyes darting between us. Olivia's hand rested protectively over her pregnant belly, her engagement ring, my grandmother's ring, catching the fluorescent light. "Mason," Olivia's voice trembled. "Please tell me it isn't true." "Whatever she told you," he started. "I told her nothing," I cut in, sliding a folder across the table. "The documents did all the talking. Bank statements, property deeds, your flight confirmation to Singapore for tomorrow night." The color drained from his face. "You had no right to warn another woman you were planning to abandon? Like you abandoned me and our twins." I checked my watch. 45 minutes until the FBI arrived. "Sit down, Mason. You're going to want to hear this offer." He sat, but his hands were shaking. "I can explain everything." "To who?" Olivia whispered. "Your wife, your pregnant girlfriend, or the federal agents?" That got his attention. His head snapped up, eyes wild. "What agents?" "The ones who've been investigating your creative accounting." I opened another folder. Unless what? Unless you sign everything back over to me. Right now. The house, the accounts, all of it." I slid the papers toward him. "One signature, and I'll tell them you were cooperating all along." Mason laughed, but it was hollow. "You're bluffing." "Check your phone," I said quietly. He pulled it out, face going ashen as he read the messages from Liam detailing the FBI investigation. His fingers gripped the edge of the table. "You have 30 minutes to decide," I continued. "Sign or I walk out that door and let justice take its course." "You bitch," he snarled, mask finally cracking. "You planned this whole thing." "No, Mason. You did. I just learned to read the fine print." He lunged across the table, but Olivia's scream stopped him cold. She doubled over, clutching her stomach. "The baby," she gasped. "Something's wrong." Mason froze, trapped between his pregnant girlfriend and his escape route. I could see the calculation in his eyes, help her or run. He ran. The door slammed behind him as Olivia straightened up, perfectly fine. "Did you get that?" she asked the hidden camera in her brooch. I nodded, numb. His confession, his assault attempt, his abandonment. All of it. But my victory felt hollow as I watched him through the window, sprinting toward the parking garage. He was really going to leave us all, both families, both babies, everything. "The FBI's already in the building," Liam said from the doorway. "He won't make it to his car." I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt empty. "The twins will never know their father." "No," Olivia said softly. "But they'll know their mother fought for them." The sound of shouting echoed from the hallway. Mason's voice, then others. The crash of bodies against walls. The clinking of handcuffs. I'd won. So why did victory taste like ash? The prison visiting room smelled like cheap coffee and desperation. Mason sat across from me in his orange jumpsuit, thinner now, the arrogance stripped away by 3 months in federal custody. "You look good," he said, eyes flickering to the manila envelope I'd placed between us. "The twins are crawling now." I watched his face for any sign of feeling. Nothing. Olivia had her baby last week. A girl. His hands clenched on the table. "Why are you here, Willow?" I opened the envelope, sliding out a stack of papers. "The FBI found something interesting in your personal files. Letters from your father, dating back 20 years. Color drained from his face. Those were private. Like our marriage was private? Like our children were private." I spread the letters across the table. Every single one talks about how you'll never be good enough, how you're a disappointment, how you'll never measure up. Stop. Is that why you did it? Why you had to prove you were smarter than everyone else? Better than the life we built? He lunged forward, but the handcuffs caught him short. "You don't understand anything." "I understand everything now." I tapped one letter. Your father abandoned your family when you were 12, left you with nothing. So you decided to do the same to us, only better, bigger, more spectacular. Shut up. But you made one mistake. I leaned forward. You underestimated me. Just like your father underestimated your mother. His eyes snapped to mine. What? I pulled out one final document. I found her, Mason. Your mother. The woman who rebuilt her life after your father destroyed it. The woman who raised you alone while he started his new family. She died, he whispered. Years ago. Another lie your father told you. I slid a photo across the table. She's alive. Successful. Happy. She did what I'm doing now. She chose herself. Her child. Her future. Mason stared at the photo, hands shaking. Why are you showing me this? Because our children deserve better than your father's legacy. Better than your legacy. I stood, gathering the letters. I'm keeping these. Someday, when they're old enough to ask about you, I want them to understand. Not just what you did, but why. Willow. His voice cracked. Please. Your mother's address is on the back of the photo. Write to her or don't. That's your choice. I turned to leave, then paused. But know this. I'll succeed where you failed, Mason. Our children will never doubt they're enough. Never feel they have to prove themselves. Never know the fear that drove you to destroy everything good in your life. The door buzzed behind me as I left, drowning out whatever he tried to say. It didn't matter anymore. I had what I came for, not revenge but understanding. And maybe finally freedom from the cycle of pain that had brought us here. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, forwarded from Mason's mother. Inside was a single sheet of paper, yellowed with age, written in Mason's teenage handwriting. Dear Dad, I'll prove you wrong. I'll be better than you ever were. I'll have everything you couldn't keep. I folded it carefully, adding it to the stack of documents I'd gathered for the twins' memory box. Not to remember Mason by, but to understand the weight of generational pain, the cost of proving something to ghosts who never cared enough to stay. The doorbell rang. Olivia stood there, her daughter balanced on her hip. Ready? I nodded, grabbing my diaper bag. The twins were already strapped in their car seats, babbling to each other in their secret language. The park was quiet this morning. We found our usual bench, watching our children play on the blanket spread before us. 3 babies who shared a father but would never share his wounds. Mason's mother called, Olivia said quietly. He's been asking about the children. I know. I watched my daughter grab her brother's toy, their squabble resolving itself without intervention. She asked what I want to tell them when they're older. And the truth. All of it. I pulled out Mason's childhood letter, including this. They deserve to know where they come from, but also that they get to choose who they become. Olivia's daughter crawled toward the twins, who welcomed her with happy squeals. No hint of the betrayal that connected them, no shadow of their father's sins. We could have been enemies, Olivia mused, watching them play. That's what he wanted, isn't it? Us destroying each other while he walked away clean. Instead, we're here. I gestured to our children, to this moment of peace carved from chaos. Maybe that's the best revenge, refusing to carry his damage forward. My phone buzzed. Another email from Mason's lawyer about the divorce settlement. I deleted it without reading. The money was secured, the house was mine, the future protected. Whatever else he had to say could wait. Do you think he'll ever change? Olivia asked. I watched our children play, these innocent beings who would grow up knowing they were enough, exactly as they were. No proving, no running, no desperate grasp at phantom approval. Maybe, I said finally. But that's not our story anymore. The twins laughed, a sound like bells breaking morning silence. Their half-sister joined in, 3 different futures untangling from one man's past. I tucked Mason's letter away, letting the wind take its bitter words. Our children would write their own stories, on blank pages unmarked by their father's fears. They would be enough. They already were. And so, finally, was I.